Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our evening Dhamma. Tonight we are looking at, questions. We have 8 questions on our website. We'll go through those. And then maybe I'll take up one of them in a little more detail. But first, we'll sort of generalize, okay? Going to talk about the Buddha. So the story goes that countless and countless and countless amounts of time in the past, someone decided that even though they were capable of becoming enlightened very quickly, there was someone who was quite powerful and well developed spiritually. Even though they could follow and realize the Buddha's teaching, realize the truth very quickly, they decided that they would put it off, and they would, rather than learn the truth from someone else, they would work themselves to be able to discover the teaching for themselves. We see that happening today. People deciding on this, thinking that, these teachings lead to freedom from suffering, which is really an end to samsara, an end to wandering on. And if I put an end to my wandering on, I'm leaving behind everyone else, abandoning all those beings who need my help. And so these people, because they're spurred on by not just helping in this life, but working to help as many countless beings as they can, there's no sense that you should or shouldn't do one way or the other. We shouldn't look down upon people who decide to do such a difficult thing. But likewise, there's no reason to look down on someone who actually tries and strives to practice the path to freedom from suffering, because that's what it's all about, right? The more people who decide not to free themselves from suffering, the more suffering there will be. So we reduce suffering greatly, really, by becoming free from suffering. But the goal in the end, ultimately, is an end to suffering, which really just means an end to stress, an end to clinging, an end to ambition, seeking out things that have no value, seeing satisfaction in things that don't actually satisfy us, ignoring the fact that we become more and more impatient, more and more clingy and addicted. Anyway, so we have some questions tonight about enlightened beings and about the Buddha. First question is, If Nibbana releases one from samsara, is parinibbana anything other than obliteration? Is parinibbana different from the atheist's conception of death? Well, I'm an atheist, and my conception of death is that it's an illusion, a conception. It's not real, it's just a concept. What's real is experience, which continues on and gives rise to future experience through the power of ethically charged mind states. And they're really so another description of ethically charged mind states is those mind states that are productive of further mind states. So mindfulness, equanimity, objectivity, enlightenment, these are things which are not productive of future mind state. And so when past mind states come to an end, there's no future arising. So Nibbana doesn't release one from samsara. There's no one to release. This idea of a being. So the second part of your first question is based on the error of the presumption in the first part of the question, which is that there is no one to be released, and therefore it can't be an obliteration of anything. It's an obliteration of suffering. That's it. An obliteration of defilement, an obliteration of ignorance. It's all those things. We should read the beginning of the Vinaya. In the beginning of the Vinaya, someone accuses the Buddha of being an obliterationist and so on. And he says, yes, I obliterate suffering, obliterate illusion, delusion, ignorance. Is parinibbana different from an atheist's conception of death? So you're referring to a person who believes that everyone, when they die, at the moment of the physical breakup of the physical body, and the mind also ceases. So a physicalist, a person who believes that the mind is a product of an active brain and solely an aspect of physical existence, which when physical existence ceases, mental existence ceases as well. So the cessation of mental activity, yeah, I think I could buy that. But it's the cessation not due to physical death, it's the cessation due to the end of um, the end of continuing. There's another word for it, can't think of it. I was going to say procreation, but that's not quite correct. So I'm going to save this one for the end. I'll do a little bit, go into detail about it. Let's move on to the third one. Is an arahant able to laugh? Actually, not really interested in that. No, I left it actually because laughing is physical, and an arahant might still engage in activities relevant to their station. So an arahant may very well laugh, in my opinion. Some people, I have heard people say, no, an arahant would never laugh, but it being just a physical act, I believe an arahant would be capable. I don't think a Buddha would ever laugh, because Buddhas uproot upanisaya, means they have no idiosyncrasies. There's nothing peculiar about them. Buddhas are all of perfect disposition, which means I don't think they laugh. I don't know that there's any text that says they don't, but it seems to me that they most likely do not. They smile. Is there something called itching, or is it just Vedana? No, itching would be probably an earth element, the hardness. It's a hardness that is very strong and localized. It's not Vedana. Vedana is associated. Every experience has Vedana in it. But Vedana is the feeling of pleasure, pain, or neutral. So an itching is most likely associated with a neutral feeling. Of course, the reaction is usually associated with a disliking of it, a negative feeling, a painful feeling. Okay, this is a long question. I'm going to try to distill it. So yes, you're noting disliking yourself, but then you say, well, myself doesn't exist, so why should I note that? So we don't note. We don't have it. Our noting has nothing to do with what it is that we're liking or disliking or reacting to. Those things are just concepts generally. The important point is that there's a reality there, and the reality is you're disliking. So when you're disliking, the reality is to say to yourself, or the practice is to focus on the reality and say to yourself, disliking, disliking. There's no need to remove concepts. You want to remove the concept of self. The removal comes from seeing what really is there, which is experience. When you see that all that's there is experience, self has no place, no part in reality. Sometimes the Buddha uses images like rotting corpses and so on, disease, cancer, and so on. So you try to use these. I wouldn't use them. These are similes. Similes are used to provide direction, but the direction should be towards practicing mindfulness and towards aligning yourself with the fact that the body is not something beautiful. This beauty in the body is really silly, and there's good similes that allow you to see how ridiculous it is. We are biased against all of the things that the body is made up of. We were repulsed by all of them, and yet somehow we become attached when they're all put together in a certain way. It's just delusion and illusion. So when you look at the body as repulsive, it helps you see, oh yes, look at, on the one hand, I'm repulsed by blood and snot and all sorts of these things, but on the other hand, somehow I'm attracted to it. And most people are not attracted to a dog's body or a pig's body or something. It's all just conceptions. So seeing that, it sets you on the direction to be mindful and objective and learn to let go of your attachment. The Buddha doesn't often use these. I mean, he does use them, but much more often he talks about things like mindfulness. So this person does meditation with something in their ears, earplugs, I guess, and then they heard something else, and they were grateful for the sound. All of this is reaction. You're reacting to the fear of some scary sound, or you don't want to allow the arising of certain states that come from sounds, and then when this other sound comes, you react to it and like it. Maybe even being grateful means you relate it to a being who gave it to you, or a force or something that gave it to you, which is all extrapolation. The reality is there's feelings, there's reactions, there's judgments, there's experiences. And all of these things should be the object of meditation practice. I mean, this is a good example of the sorts of things that we want to try to work out and overcome and let go of. Experience is just experience. Sound is just sound. And learn to say to yourself, hearing, when you like it or dislike it or you're afraid of it or whatever. That all should be noted. This one I almost got rid of, but I think it's okay. Different. Normally I don't like these comparative ones, but it's fairly general and it's related to meditation. What are the difference between meditative practices in Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism? The only big glaring difference is that generally the definition of Mahayana Buddhism is to put aside enlightenment, to be reborn and help others lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So the real difference, I mean, there's so many different kinds of meditation in both traditions, but the real difference essentially is that one is for the purpose of and leads to the consummation of becoming free from suffering and letting go of one's attachments in this life, and the other is designed to maintain some level of attachment enough to be reborn again and want to help others in future lives. So our last question is, someone wants me to do Maidini wants me to do a video on the 10 perfections. So I thought I don't know that I want to do a video on the 10 perfections. It's one of those things that requires a scholar, in my opinion, which I'm not. There were 10 or 12 books written. The Buddha Charyavatara, is that what it's called? Anyway, this Burmese set of books that was translated into English, and it just goes, it's a bookshelf of books on the 10 perfections. I don't know if those are still available. They were publishing them in Malaysia a while back, but very interesting and detailed set of texts about the 10 perfections, which kind of makes me, that knowing that text is out there makes me think, oh no, not something I want to dive into. But I thought I'd go over them and refer to the introduction to the Jataka, because it lists the 10 perfections. So Sumedha, this ascetic who has received a prognostication from the Buddha Dipankara, that a prediction that this ascetic here will become a Buddha in the future. And so Sumedha goes and sits down and he says, "Wow, what am I gonna? This is it. I'm on the path. I've been verified by the Buddha." And so he thought down and he said to himself, "I'll search that I may find conditions which a Buddha make, above, below, to all 10 points, wherever conditions hold their sway." And then I searched and saw the first perfection, Sila, which is, no, Dana, sorry. Dana, which is giving. Dana literally means giving. Giving is one of the perfections of the Buddha. They are perfect in their giving. They have perfect, not just like ordinary enlightened, even an enlightened being will give, but a Buddha is always giving and is perfect in giving what is most useful to every individual. So he said, I have to develop this. And his simile, there's 10 similes that I want to go over. He says, as when a jar is brimming full, and someone overturneth it, the jar its water all gives forth, and nothing for itself keeps back. So if you want to have perfection of giving, Mahasi Sayadaw talks about this, and he goes into more detail than I'm going to, but I definitely recommend reading what he says on giving, and how you have to go for alms first. As a monk, you have to go for alms first and give away all the alms, and then go for a second time and a third time until you've given away to everyone who could possibly need food. Usually monks who don't go on alms round, the older monks or so on. Teachers who don't have a chance to go out. And then you can go and have whatever's left. You can go for alms for yourself. But here the simile is giving everything. Are you able to give everything? And everything really means everything, including your body, including your limbs and your organs and your life even. Are you able to give all of that? That's the way of a Buddha. So he said to himself, I'll give to anyone. May they be low or high or middle born, doesn't matter. That's the first one. The second one is sila, morality. And his simile is, as when a yak's cow's flowing tail is firmly caught by bush or thorn, she thereupon awaits her death, but will not tear and mar her tail. So a yak has a long tail, I guess, right? And if it gets caught on a bush or something, the yak will not pull because they are afraid to break the tail, to pull the hairs out of the beautiful tail, I guess. I mean, suppose there were such a yak. That's the way of someone who keeps to the perfection of precept or of ethics, is that even for their own life, they won't break the slightest precept, no matter what the cost. They will not hit, they will not hurt, they will not harm another. They will not speak a lie, they will not speak harm to others. They will train themselves that they will see anumatte suvaji subhyadasavi. They will see danger in the slightest fault. The Bodhisattva developed this to perfection, where nothing would ever make him break a precept, an ethical precept, or an ethical principle. The third is renunciation. And his simile is like a man who long has dwelt in prison, suffering miserably. No liking for the place conceives, but only longs for release. So a person in prison, renunciation here means letting go of the world. So he says, I'll try and see the world as a prison, for the prison that it is, prison of our own making. Society is really in many ways a prison. We're imprisoning ourselves and imprisoning each other and manipulating each other. Politics, law, regulation. Some of it's good, I mean, for everyone to get something that they like, you need things like regulations, right? There's nothing wrong with regulations. The Bodhisattva we have in one of the suttas, the Bodhisattva was the first regulator because people were stealing each other's rice way back in the very beginning, back in the olden times when it was just rice and everyone had some rice. But then someone said, I'm too lazy, I'll take someone else's rice. So they got the Bodhisattva to come and they said, hey, you have to help us keep order here. So they had laws and regulations and so on. Necessary. But only necessary because of desire, because we want. If we stopped clinging even to life, we just stopped clinging to this rock in the corner of the universe, clinging to this slug of a body that's creeping along this desolate rock in the corner of the universe. Yeah, we put it like that, maybe. Human life is not something terribly special. We're just quite fond of it. Okay, number 4. So the point here is leaving it behind and leaving one's life, one's home, one's wealth, and so on, giving it up and letting go, and going off into the forest to cultivate what is truly useful, the mind. And the fourth is wisdom. And so he gives a simile, just like a Brahmin, a priest, when on his rounds. No, that's not right. Just as a monk or an ascetic on their alms rounds. Nor low, nor high, nor middling folk doth shun, but begs of everyone. So in India, of course, and there was a tradition, a long or ancient tradition of religious people going onto the village just to stay alive, and some of them would beg, would ask people to give them food. Buddhist monks don't beg, but they do take if people are giving, and they stay alive just by that, just by people actually initiating and saying, hey, you're looking for food, I have food for you, I'll give you some food, that kind of thing. But the simile here is the point is that just like such a monk who doesn't discriminate, doesn't say, oh, I'll only go to this person or that person. He said, in that same way, I'll seek out wisdom from everyone. You see, a Buddha has to learn everything, so they won't shun any kind of knowledge, and they'll put together all the things they learn and try to discard the stuff that turns out to not fit with reality. You know, a true philosopher's quest, just to figure out everything. You see philosophers throughout the ages trying to do this in vain because they're not bodhisattvas, but some of them might be. Some of them might be on the path, and so they're working it out lifetime after lifetime, refining it. The fifth is, see, I've got a very poor translation, and I'm not actually looking at the Pali, which I probably should have done. Virya, right? No. Yes. Right, virya, and they use courage because virya comes from vira, which means a hero, but virya means effort, energy. Just as the lion, king of beasts, in crouching, walking, standing still, with courage ever is instinct, and watchful always and alert. So the effort, walking and sitting and meditating, just like a lion that never lets up its guard. Honestly, I think lions have an overly good reputation. Lions are apparently very lazy. They're not like tigers. Tigers are the king, but lions are pretty laid back. I don't know what it was like in the time of the Buddha, but a lion is supposed to be the king. But I read a book once that said, no, the tigers are more like kings. Why are we? Oh, that's something else. Are we still broadcasting? I think we are live. Good. Yeah, so the effort of a bodhisattva is unflagging, and this means lifetime after lifetime, never giving up, never saying, oh, it's too hard. Lifetime after lifetime, working endlessly, ceaselessly, just meticulously cultivating. You know, you think the effort we put out here in the meditation center is a lot, boy. Think of the Buddha, what he had to go through to get to where he came, where he ended up. The sixth is khanti, patience. Just as the earth, whatever is thrown upon her, whether sweet or foul, all things endures and never shows repugnance nor complacency. It means no liking or disliking. The earth, people can spit on it or defecate on it, throw rubbish on it, dig it up, hurl insults at the earth if you want. The earth doesn't care. The earth doesn't mind. So the Buddha gave many similes about this, like the simile of the earth. Just like the earth, be like the earth, no matter what comes. See, we react out of total delusion, this idea that we have a self that we have to protect. It's all just clinging. and it's built up based on likes and dislikes and concern over loss, losing the things that you like. That builds up into a sense of self that you have to protect. The seventh is truth, but truth here means truthfulness. No, it means, let me see here. So we've got two of them. We've got satya and adhitthana. Satya means, work out the difference. Adhitthana means the ability to say, I vow to do X, and then have it come true. I vow to sit here until I become enlightened. I will not get up until I become enlightened, and then to see it through, to have it happen. Satya is to be able to say, well, I can't remember. But satya is, no, satya is truth, but like there's this time where the Buddha says, if I am to be a Buddha, that's determination though. If I am to become a Buddha, may this bowl, and he has his bowl, and he may it float upstream, and his bowl actually floats upstream. I'm pretty sure that's adhitthana. Satya is when you say, satya is the ability to say, I don't know. Satya is a power that becomes a perfection because you've always told the truth. Like if you stole something, you would say, I stole. But of course, the Buddha probably, well, he did, I think, steal in some of his, well, I don't remember. And it doesn't matter. It's the ability to say, I've never in this lifetime killed. And there's power behind that. And there's a power in truthfulness. It's been a while since I've gone over this. I know it's similar because there's a power that comes from us. You can say, through the power of this truth, I've never killed anyone in this lifetime, through the power of this statement of truth, and then may such and such happen, which is similar to saying, I vow for the such and such to happen, may such and such occur, and have it happen. But this book that I was talking about, this series of books, it goes over how they're related and how they're distinct, because the commentary, I think, has a lot to say. Anyway, satya means telling the truth and relying on the power of the truth. But I made a mess of that one because I don't really remember about what that one refers to. But the simile is, just as the morning star on high its balanced course doth ever keep, and through all seasons, times, and years doth never from its pathway swerve. So the morning star is always on track. You never see the morning star rise in the wrong place, wherever that would be. Same with the person who always tells the truth. There's a power in truth that you see in the Jatakas. This is referring to those stories where the Buddha or the Bodhisattva says some truth, like, I've never done this, I've never done that. And there's a powerful thing that comes from it, some result. The next one is resolution. So this is when you determine, I vow this, I vow that. And then you're able to stick with it. Like when you sit for an hour and you don't give up at 55 minutes. When you go for the 60 minutes because you set your timer, that's cultivating this kind of thing, determination. So don't, when you say, oh, it's just 5 minutes left, no. Well, it's okay, but you're not developing determination. My teacher once reminded us of that, so I'm just repeating what he said. It's a good teaching. So it's the simile here. Just as a rocky mountain peak unmoved stands firm established, unshaken by the boisterous gales, and always in its place abides. So the mountain stays firm. You don't see Mount Everest suddenly get up and move somewhere else because it's uncomfortable. The ninth is metta. Metta is a perfection, goodwill. Goodwill here. Goodwill is a good translation, but friendliness is literally, I don't know why no one uses the word friendliness. That's literally what it means. As water cleanseth all alike, the righteous and the wicked too, from dust and dirt of every kind, and with refreshing coolness fills. Water doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, this is an evil person. I'm not going to quench their thirst. It doesn't say, oh, this is a ugly person. I'm not going to clean them. Water cleanses everyone, righteous and wicked. Water make you have a shower, you get clean. Doesn't matter whether you're a good person or a bad person. He said, in the same way, I will develop friendliness towards all, be they good or be they evil. And the 10th is equanimity, not indifference. That's a bad translation. Equanimity. Just as the earth, whatever is thrown, and this is similar. Didn't we have this simile already? Yeah, so patience and equanimity have the same simile. Again, the earth, if you throw something on the earth, similar one anyway. Whatever is thrown upon her, whether sweet or foul, indifferent to all, is to all alike. So it doesn't matter whether you throw garbage or you defecate on the earth. It treats it all the same. It's a very powerful practice. It's a part of our practice. But this was more far-reaching. The Bodhisattva would go into any situation and be tortured and beaten and so on, and always remind himself to stay objective and equanimous and not react. Those are the 10 perfections. I think that's all I have to say about that. And that's all our questions for tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. YouTube's chatting away. Too much chatting. Are you all chatting over there while we're trying to focus on the Dhamma? You should chat after the talk. Is there a way you can keep chatting after I finish talking? Now you can chat away. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Have a good night.